In recent years, the connection between diet and brain health has gained significant attention from scientists and the general public alike. While many people are aware that foods like fruits, vegetables, and omega-3 rich fish are good for the brain, far fewer realize that certain foods may actually harm it. Among the most concerning of these are processed meats, items like bacon, sausages, hot dogs, salami, ham, and deli meats. These products are widely consumed around the world, often seen as convenient and tasty options for breakfast, lunch, or snacks. However, mounting evidence suggests that regular consumption of processed meats could contribute to a higher risk of cognitive decline, Alzheimer's disease, and other forms of dementia. What are processed meats? Processed meats are defined as meats that have been preserved by smoking, curing, salting, or adding chemical preservatives. These methods are used to extend shelf life, improve flavor, and prevent bacterial contamination. While these techniques may make meats more convenient and flavorful, they also introduce a variety of harmful compounds into the human body, some of which have been linked to poor brain health. The role of nitrites and nitrates. One of the key concerns with processed meats is their content of nitrites and nitrates, chemical compounds commonly used as preservatives and color enhancers. When consumed, especially in large quantities, these compounds can be converted into nitrosamines, which are known neurotoxins and carcinogens. Nitrosamines have been shown to cause damage to DNA and proteins in brain cells, leading to inflammation and oxidative stress, two major contributors to neurodegeneration. Inflammation in the brain can disrupt normal neuronal communication, impairing memory, decision-making, and learning abilities. Over time, chronic inflammation may contribute to the formation of amyloid plaques and tau tangles, the hallmark features of Alzheimer's disease. Scientific evidence linking processed meats to cognitive decline. Several studies have investigated the relationship between processed meat consumption and brain health. For example, a large-scale UK biobank study published in 2021 analyzed the dietary habits of nearly 500,000 participants over several years. The results revealed that individuals who consumed 25 grams of processed meat per day, roughly equivalent to one slice of bacon, had a 44% increased risk of developing dementia compared to those who consumed none. Another study published in the journal Neurology found that a diet high in processed meats and low in plant-based foods was associated with an increased risk of cognitive impairment and brain atrophy in older adults. The researchers concluded that processed meats might accelerate cognitive aging due to their high saturated fat content, excessive salt, and chemical additives. Salt, saturated fat, and the brain-processed meats are often high in sodium and saturated fats, both of which can negatively impact cardiovascular health, and by extension, brain health. The brain relies on a steady, rich supply of oxygenated blood. When blood vessels become damaged due to high blood pressure, caused by too much sodium, or plaque buildup from saturated fats, this blood flow is reduced. The result is a greater risk of vascular dementia, a form of cognitive decline caused by poor blood circulation to the brain. In addition, saturated fat can trigger systemic inflammation and elevate cholesterol levels, which are associated with an increased risk of stroke and cognitive dysfunction. In essence, by damaging your heart and blood vessels, these fats also damage your brain. Advanced glycation. End products, ages. Another lesser-known but significant factor is the presence of advanced glycation end products, or ages. These compounds are formed when meat is cooked at high temperatures, such as frying or grilling. Common methods used to prepare bacon, sausages, and hot dogs. Ages contribute to oxidative stress and chronic inflammation in the body, including the brain. Ages have been found in high levels in the brains of patients with Alzheimer's disease. and they are believed to impair the function of proteins necessary for normal brain activity. By consuming processed meats frequently, individuals may unknowingly raise their age levels, accelerating the processes that lead to cognitive deterioration. Addiction-like properties of processed meats. Interestingly, some studies have shown that processed meats can be addictive, much like sugary and fatty foods. This is due to their high content of salt, fat, and chemical flavor enhancers like monosodium glutamate, MSG, which can stimulate the brain's reward pathways. This makes it easy to overconsume these products regularly, compounding the health risks. What you can do: reducing your intake of processed meats is a proactive step toward protecting your brain health, especially as you age. Replacing these items with healthier protein sources, such as lean poultry, fish, legumes, tofu, or eggs, can help lower your risk of inflammation and cognitive decline. Also, increasing your consumption of brain-friendly foods, such as leafy greens, berries, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and olive oil, has been shown to support memory and reduce dementia risk. Diets like the Mind Diet and Mediterranean Diet emphasize these foods and have strong scientific backing for their neuroprotective benefits. In today's fast-paced world, sugary foods and beverages are everywhere. From sodas and sweetened teas to pastries, candies, and processed snacks. These items are often convenient, cheap, and enjoyable, but beneath their appealing sweetness lies a hidden danger to your brain. A growing body of research now points to refined sugars and sugary beverages as significant contributors to cognitive decline and dementia, particularly when consumed frequently over time. Understanding refined sugar and its impact on the brain. Refined sugar, often found in the form of sucrose, high fructose corn syrup, or glucose, is a simple carbohydrate that rapidly enters the bloodstream and spikes blood sugar levels. These quick surges, especially when repeated frequently, can trigger a harmful chain reaction in the body, beginning with insulin resistance. Insulin is a hormone that helps cells absorb glucose from the bloodstream. When sugar is consumed in large quantities, the body becomes less responsive to insulin, requiring more of it to manage blood glucose levels. This condition, known as insulin resistance, doesn't just affect blood sugar, it can also impair brain function. The brain depends on a finely tuned balance of glucose and insulin, signaling for healthy cognition. And when this balance is disrupted, it can lead to decreased mental clarity, poor memory, and eventually an increased risk of Alzheimer's disease. Type 2. Diabetes and dementia risk. Insulin resistance is also a major risk factor for type 2 diabetes, a condition long associated with an elevated risk of dementia. In fact, Alzheimer's disease is sometimes referred to as type 3 diabetes due to its strong links with insulin dysfunction in the brain. People with type 2 diabetes are estimated to have up to a 60% greater risk of developing dementia compared to those without it. This connection arises from the fact that high blood sugar and insulin resistance can lead to vascular damage, inflammation, and oxidative stress, all of which negatively impact the brain's structure and function. Additionally, diabetes-related damage to small blood vessels in the brain can contribute to vascular dementia, a condition characterized by reduced blood flow to brain tissue. Sugar and the shrinking brain. One of the most alarming findings related to sugar consumption is its effect on the hippocampus, the region of the brain primarily responsible for learning and memory. Studies using brain imaging techniques have shown that high sugar intake is associated with shrinkage of the hippocampus, even in people without diabetes. A smaller hippocampus is one of the earliest changes seen in Alzheimer's disease and is strongly correlated with memory loss. A study published in the journal Neurology examined over 4,000 individuals and found that those who drank more than 2 sugary drinks per day had smaller total brain volumes and poorer episodic memory performance. The study also noted that these individuals were more likely to show early signs of Alzheimer's-related brain changes. The role of inflammation and oxidative stress. Excessive sugar intake contributes to chronic inflammation, another key factor in the development of dementia. High blood sugar levels stimulate the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines, which can damage neurons and interfere with the brain's communication pathways. Additionally, sugar promotes oxidative stress, a condition where free radicals damage brain cells and reduce their ability to function and regenerate. Over time, this damage accumulates, disrupting brain plasticity, the brain's ability to adapt, form new connections, and store memories. The result is a decline in cognitive performance and an increased vulnerability to neurodegenerative diseases. How to protect your brain. The good news is that reducing your intake of refined sugars and sugary drinks can significantly benefit your brain. Choosing whole foods such as fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and healthy fats helps stabilize blood sugar levels and supports brain function. Replacing sugary beverages with water, herbal teas, or unsweetened drinks is a simple yet powerful step in protecting your cognitive health. Refined carbohydrates are among the most frequently consumed foods in modern diets. Items such as white bread, white rice, pasta, and pastries are found in almost every household, often serving as staples for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But while these foods may be comforting and convenient, they can pose a serious risk to your brain health, particularly when consumed regularly over time. Refined carbohydrates are made from grains that have been stripped of their fiber, vitamins, and minerals during processing. What's left behind is mostly starch, which is quickly broken down by the body into glucose, sugar. This rapid digestion leads to sudden spikes in blood sugar and insulin levels, followed by sharp crashes. These blood sugar fluctuations can be harmful not just for physical health, but also for cognitive function. Blood sugar spikes and brain fog. The brain depends on a steady supply of glucose for energy, but it also needs stability. When blood sugar levels swing wildly due to refined carb intake, the brain experiences periods of both overstimulation and deprivation. These swings can cause mental fatigue, irritability, and brain fog, a state where thinking becomes slow and unclear. Over time, the repeated spikes in blood sugar can lead to insulin resistance, a condition where the body and brain become less responsive to insulin. This condition is strongly linked to Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. Inflammation and cognitive decline. Refined carbs also promote inflammation, which is a key contributor to neurodegeneration. When blood sugar is constantly elevated, the body produces inflammatory molecules called cytokines. These molecules can cross the blood-brain barrier and damage neurons, impairing communication between brain cells. Chronic inflammation is now recognized as a major factor in the development of cognitive decline, memory loss, and Alzheimer's disease. Studies have shown that diets high in refined carbohydrates are associated with poor cognitive performance, especially in areas related to memory, attention, and learning. A 2015 study published in the journal Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience found that older adults who consumed high glycemic index diets, rich in refined carbs, had a higher risk of mild cognitive impairment, a condition that often precedes dementia. The hippocampus and mental clarity. The hippocampus, the region of the brain responsible for memory and learning, is particularly vulnerable to damage from high-carb, high-sugar diets. Repeated glucose spikes and insulin resistance reduce the ability of the hippocampus to process and store new information. This explains why people on high refined carb diets often report forgetfulness and reduced mental sharpness, even if they don't have diabetes. Better alternatives for brain health. Replacing refined carbohydrates with whole grains, such as brown rice, oats, quinoa, and whole wheat bread, can provide longer-lasting energy and more stable blood sugar levels. These foods are rich in fiber, which slows glucose absorption and supports gut and brain health. In the modern food landscape, few ingredients are as harmful to the brain as trans fats and hydrogenated oils. Found in common items like margarine, packaged snacks, fried foods, and baked goods made with shortening, these artificial fats were once prized for their ability to extend shelf life and improve texture. However, scientific research has made it increasingly clear trans fats are dangerous to the brain, increasing the risk of cognitive decline, memory loss, and Alzheimer's disease. What are trans fats and hydrogenated oils? Trans fats are created through a process called hydrogenation, where hydrogen is added to liquid vegetable oils to make them solid at room temperature. This process is used to improve the shelf stability and texture of processed foods. While some trans fats occur naturally in small amounts in meat and dairy, the most harmful types are artificial trans fats, commonly labeled as partially hydrogenated oils on ingredient lists. Despite bans and restrictions in many countries, trans fats still appear in a variety of low-cost processed foods, particularly in areas where regulations are lax or outdated. Beta-amyloid plaques and Alzheimer's disease. One of the most concerning effects of trans fats on the brain is their link to the formation of beta-amyloid plaques. These are sticky protein clumps that accumulate between neurons in the brain and are considered a key hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. Research suggests that trans fats may increase the production of these plaques, which interfere with neuron communication, trigger inflammation, and lead to cell death. A 2019 study published in Neurology found that people with the highest levels of industrial trans fats in their blood had up to a 75% increased risk of developing dementia compared to those with the lowest levels. The researchers concluded that even small amounts of trans fats could be harmful over time. Reduced blood flow and cognitive performance. Trans fats are also known to negatively impact cardiovascular health by increasing levels of bad LDL cholesterol and decreasing good HDL cholesterol. Poor heart health often translates into poor brain health, as the brain requires a rich and steady supply of oxygenated blood to function properly. By damaging blood vessels and promoting plaque buildup in arteries, trans fats reduce cerebral blood flow, impairing the delivery of nutrients and oxygen to the brain. This contributes to mental fatigue, slower thinking, memory issues, and over time, neurodegeneration. Inflammation and oxidative stress. Another mechanism through which trans fats harm the brain is by promoting chronic inflammation and oxidative stress. These conditions damage brain cells, disrupt neurotransmitter function, and make the brain more susceptible to aging and disease. Inflammation in particular is a well-known factor in the progression of dementia and Alzheimer's. Protecting your brain. To support brain health, it's critical to eliminate artificial trans fats from your diet. Read food labels carefully and avoid products that list partially hydrogenated oils. Opt instead for healthy fats such as olive oil, avocado, nuts, seeds, and fatty fish, which provide essential omega-3 fatty acids known to protect brain cells and support memory. Alcohol, when consumed occasionally and in moderation, may not pose immediate harm for most adults. However, excessive alcohol consumption, including regular heavy drinking or binge drinking, can have profoundly damaging effects on the brain. Beyond its well-known impact on the liver and heart, alcohol is a neurotoxin, meaning it can directly harm brain cells. Over time, this damage accumulates, increasing the risk of alcohol-related dementia and vascular dementia, two serious and often irreversible conditions that significantly impair memory, thinking, and daily functioning. How alcohol affects the brain. Alcohol travels quickly through the bloodstream and crosses the blood-brain barrier, where it interferes with communication between neurons. While small amounts might cause temporary effects like relaxation or lowered inhibition, large or repeated doses can damage neurons, especially in brain regions responsible for memory, decision-making, coordination, and emotional regulation. One of the most affected areas is the frontal lobe, which governs executive functions such as judgment, planning, and problem solving. Long-term alcohol abuse can shrink this part of the brain, leading to cognitive inflexibility, poor impulse control, and impaired reasoning. Alcohol-related dementia. Chronic heavy drinking over the years can lead to alcohol-related dementia, a condition that mimics Alzheimer's disease in many ways but stems directly from alcohol toxicity and nutritional deficiencies. One common contributing factor is a lack of thiamine, vitamin B1, which is essential for brain function. Alcohol interferes with the body's ability to absorb thiamine, leading to a condition called Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, a severe brain disorder often seen in alcoholics that causes memory loss, confusion, and hallucinations. Alcohol-related dementia can develop gradually with symptoms such as forgetfulness, difficulty concentrating, trouble making decisions, mood swings and irritability, poor coordination and balance. Unlike other forms of dementia, some symptoms of alcohol-related dementia can be partially reversed if alcohol intake stops early and proper nutrition and care are provided. However, if the damage is extensive, it may become permanent. Vascular dementia and blood vessel damage. Excessive alcohol also contributes to vascular dementia by damaging blood vessels throughout the body, including those in the brain. It raises blood pressure, weakens arterial walls, and increases the risk of stroke, all of which compromise blood flow to brain tissues. When brain cells are deprived of oxygen and nutrients due to poor circulation, they begin to die, leading to progressive cognitive impairment. A study in the Lancet Public Health, 2018, found that alcohol use disorder is one of the strongest modifiable risk factors for all types of dementia, especially early onset dementia before age 65. The research highlighted that those with chronic alcohol abuse were significantly more likely to develop cognitive disorders than non-drinkers or moderate drinkers. Protecting brain health. To reduce the risk of dementia, it is essential to limit alcohol intake. Current health guidelines recommend no more than 1 drink per day for women and 2 for men. For those with a history of alcohol abuse or cognitive issues, abstinence may be necessary to prevent further decline. Replacing alcohol with healthier habits like regular exercise, social engagement, and a brain-healthy diet can significantly support mental well-being.